Everybody, it's me, Mr. Russell. We are going to continue again today with our discussion about Julius Caesar, and today will be the infamous Battle of Alesia, where Julius Caesar will come face to face against a formidable foe in Vercingetorix. Now, to kick things off, Julius Caesar is beginning his campaign in Gaul. He is beginning to move methodically to the north. He is conquering small tribal areas one after another. And in doing so, one day he comes upon this Gallic tribesman who is defending his land, and he's wondering, what in the world is this guy doing? And as he approaches the battle scene, everyone obviously stops fighting because, well, Julius Caesar has just arrived on the scene. And he's asking this guy, why are you resisting? We're Romans. We're going to take over this land. And this man says, well, we've built this city on our own. We've built these homes and towns that you're trying to destroy and take over. And Caesar says, what is your name? And the guy tells him, Vercingetorix. Now, this is where Caesar makes a pretty big political blunder. He doesn't make too many mistakes, but this is going to be one. For whatever reason, we don't know, but Caesar allows this man to leave. Not only does he allow him to leave, but he asks one of the Roman soldiers nearby to give him his horse so that he's able to leave the town. As time goes on, Caesar's in his tent. He's continuing his campaign in the north, and one of his men come in, and they inform him that thousands of Roman soldiers are being ambushed by these Gallic tribes. And Caesar wants to know who is responsible for this. And his commander tells him, a man by the name of Vercingetorix. You could only imagine how enraged Julius Caesar is at this point. The man that he let go is now forming small platoons to ambush the Romans, to kill them, and to try to force them out of Gaul. Julius Caesar will, in fact, find where Vercingetorix is, and therefore we get to the famous Battle of Alesia. Before we get to the actual battle itself, this is going to be a true testament on whether or not Caesar will advance Roman territory or if he's going to die trying. Caesar will in fact ask for reinforcements. He is going up against a formidable force. He is completely outnumbered. Conservative estimates say that the Gallic forces in Gaul have over 250,000 troops compared to roughly probably 75 to 50,000 Romans. Now back in Rome, living peacefully, are two guys, one Pompey and two Cato the Younger. Now if you remember, Cato the Younger is the famous relative of Cato the Elder. Cato the Elder was the man who spoke out against Carthage during that Third Punic War and would basically go and rally against the Senate and tell them that Carthaginians should be destroyed. Well, Cato the Younger is now basically the thorn in Julius Caesar's side. These two guys are hanging out, and when they were approached about expanding or providing legions to Julius Caesar, they of course denied the request. This is the first time that many Roman people witnessed the fact that maybe the Roman Senate wants Caesar to fail. I mean, if you think about it, if Caesar wins this battle of Gaul, he by far becomes the most powerful man, not just in Rome, but probably in the entire world. Imagine as he returns to Rome, there is nobody there to stop him. There is no one to challenge him. And therefore, why not kind of promote him into this suicide mission? And that's exactly what Caesar is going to do. He is going to do what we call a battle of attrition. He is going to try to force Vercingetorix into submission. He is going to try to play his cards and see exactly what happens. Now, the scene of Alesia, as we can see right here, this is the campground where all 250,000 Gallic men are hiding. What Julius Caesar is going to do is he is going to build a Roman wall around the entire outskirts of Alesia. He is going to try to protect it. There will be Roman trenches and ditch marks over on the western side of the flank. And because out here there are continuing growing numbers of Gallic forces out in those fields, Caesar builds yet a second wall of protection around that one. Here's another picture of what the battle scene is going to look like. Again, you have Alesia at the very northern part here. You have the walls surrounding the city. Pretty much anyone trying to come in or out is going to be blocked. Now, it's kind of a sad story as far as the battle goes, because as time goes on, both sides are running out of resources, and they're kind of running out of time. And Vercingetorix and his men are speaking in the morning, and they're wondering, how much food do they have left? How long can they continue this battle? And one of the men says, we're whittling down. We're going to have to make a move of some sort. We're going to have to do something. The Romans are not surrendering, and yet we're running out of food. Vercingetorix makes the difficult decision that all women and children should be removed from the fort. All of them are going to have to be put into the hands of the Romans. So during the early mornings, the gates of Alesia open up, and thousands, tens of thousands of women and children come walking down the pathway. And they basically stop at the gate of the Romans, and Julius Caesar is standing at the very top, and he's looking down at them, and the women and children are pleading for mercy. They want to be brought into the Romans. They want food. They're tired. They're hungry. And Caesar basically gives the order to do nothing. He orders his men to keep the gates locked. He does not allow the women and children inside of the Roman camp. The thousands of innocent women and children will eventually die in the fields. Vercingetorix and his men will not allow them in either. It's kind of one of the first and ugly times of the Battle of Alesia. As we kind of continue on and look at this battle, what we can see in the very northern part here, out in the fields, we have thousands, potentially hundreds of thousands of Gallic tribesmen that are going to help and emerge on the battle scene. And for what Caesar is going to attempt to do, he's going to attempt to predict what the enemy is going to do. When often asked about why he was so victorious in many battles, he used to say, well, that's exactly what I would have done. Well, in this case, Julius Caesar is going to try to predict what Vercingetorix is going to do. And luckily for him, his prediction was correct. This here is one of the trench lines that Caesar is going to use. This trench line is really nothing more than an area just to slow down the Gallic assault. Here is another picture. Again, this is just to slow down the Gauls. You have a small fortified hill here, a wall that's helping to block the Gaul people from advancing, and then you have the armed guards at the very top. The way this battle scene is going to work out, you have the Battle of Alesia. Okay, the wall is basically surrounding the city. Over here now, this is where the battle is going to take place. What Julius Caesar is going to do is he's going to set up his men, and they're going to have a face-off. But he's realizing the fact that there's going to be this push of Gallic people to try to come in and break through this line. As you can see in the red here, these are where the Gallic men are all going to try to converge in on these pockets of Romans. But what Caesar is going to do is he is going to use his cavalry to essentially move around the flank and then in behind the Gallic men, therefore keeping them surrounded. His hope is that he could hold this line long enough so that the cavalry can get in behind, and then now the Gauls have to fight on two fronts. Caesar is hoping that this sandwiching technique will eventually be the death of Vercingetorix and the Gallic people. This is a scene of what the battle may have looked like. You have complete chaos, two sides colliding with one another. You have more Gallic tribesmen out in the fields converging in on the battle scene, and Caesar is waiting to give the order for the cavalry to emerge from the rear. This is a scene where the cavalry finally arrives on the